Right now, somewhere in a dusty corner of a thrift store or a government surplus auction, there is a hard drive sitting in a discarded laptop that contains information so sensitive, so restricted, and so dangerous that simply possessing it could result in a lifetime behind bars. We like to think that when we hit delete or format a drive, our data is gone. But as any data recovery specialist will tell you, bits and bytes are stubborn. They leave ghosts behind. Today, we are diving deep into the digital abyss to explore the most prohibited and high-stakes items ever discovered on storage media. We aren't just talking about pirated movies or leaked emails. We are talking about state secrets, forbidden algorithms, and the kind of data that can shift the balance of global power. If you've ever wondered what's really hiding in the sectors and blocks of those discarded platters, stay tuned. We are going way beyond the recycle bin. Let's start with the stuff that keeps world leaders up at night: classified military data. This isn't just a plot point for a movie. It happens more often than you'd think. There are hundreds of documented cases where old government laptops were sold on eBay or at local auctions with the data still intact. In one famous incident, a security researcher bought a used drive for less than $20 and found the blueprints for a high-altitude missile defense system. This included the exact location of launch sites, the frequencies used for communication, and the vulnerabilities of the radar systems. This information is considered munitions under international traffic in arms regulations. Just having this on your computer, even if you found it by accident, puts you in a legal gray area that can lead to federal charges. The scary part is that these drives often bypass standard decommission protocols because of human error or a simple lack of technical understanding by the person tasked with wiping them. Then we move into the realm of zero-day exploits and cyber warfare tools. Imagine opening a drive and finding a folder containing the source code for a digital weapon like Stuxnet. For those who don't know, this was the incredibly complex worm designed to physically damage infrastructure. Finding the source code for a zero-day, which is a vulnerability that the software manufacturer doesn't even know exists yet, is like finding a master key to every house in a city. On the black market, a single working zero-day for a major operating system can be worth millions of dollars, but holding on to that code is incredibly risky. Intelligence agencies actively monitor for the distribution of these tools, and if they trace a leaked exploit back to your hardware, you are no longer just a hobbyist. You are a threat to national security. Speaking of restricted code, let's talk about forbidden cryptography. This might sound strange in a world where we use encryption for our banking every day, but for a long time, high-level encryption was classified as a weapon by many governments. There are legendary stories from the early days of the internet about PGP, or Pretty Good Privacy. Its creator was investigated by the government because the encryption was so strong it was considered an illegal export. Even today, there are specific proprietary encryption algorithms used by intelligence agencies that are strictly prohibited for civilian possession. Finding a drive with the source code for military-grade crypto-analysis tools is essentially the same as holding a box of stolen classified documents. The math itself is the contraband. Now, let's get into corporate espionage and trade secrets. This is where the world of business gets incredibly cold and calculated. People have been caught with hard drives containing the secret recipes for global soda brands, the chemical formulas for experimental pharmaceuticals, and the proprietary source code for high-frequency trading bots. These bots are capable of executing thousands of trades in a fraction of a second, and their code is protected more fiercely than some government secrets. If a disgruntled employee leaves a company with a drive full of this data, it's not just a breach of contract. It's a high-level theft that can cause billions of dollars in economic damage. The legal consequences for possessing stolen intellectual property of this scale are massive, often involving international law enforcement and massive civil lawsuits that would ruin anyone for life. Then there is the category of stolen financial databases. We've all heard about data breaches, but what happens to that data after it's stolen? It ends up on the hard drives of brokers on the dark web. These drives contain millions of lines of personal information, credit card numbers, social security numbers, and bank account access tokens. But it's not just the theft that's the problem. Just the act of possessing a database of this size that you don't have authorization for is a major felony. Law enforcement agencies have specialized units that hunt for these digital caches. If you ever purchase a used drive and find thousands of credit card numbers, the only safe move is to physically destroy the drive or contact the authorities immediately, because once that hardware is associated with your IP address, the clock starts ticking. We also have to look at the world of compromised biometric data. This is a relatively new but extremely serious category. As we move toward using fingerprints, facial recognition, and iris scans for security, that data has to be stored somewhere. Imagine finding a drive containing the raw biometric hashes for thousands of people. Unlike a password, you can't change your fingerprint. If your biometric data is leaked, your identity is essentially permanently compromised in the digital world. The regulations surrounding the storage of this data are incredibly strict, and the unauthorized possession of biometric databases is treated as a severe violation of privacy laws and security protocols. Another fascinating and dangerous thing found on hard drives is illegal satellite access software. There is a whole community of hobbyists who try to listen in on satellite transmissions, but some take it too far. People have been caught with drives containing the specialized software and keys needed to hijack commercial or even military satellite feeds. This isn't just about watching free television. It's about the ability to intercept communication, or even disrupt the positioning systems that planes and ships rely on. Because satellites are considered critical infrastructure, having the tools to interfere with them on your hard drive is an automatic ticket to a high-security prison. Let's talk about counterfeit asset templates. We aren't just talking about fake money here, though that is certainly included. Scammers and high-level fraudsters often have drives filled with high-resolution, layered templates for passports, driver's licenses, and government IDs from every country on Earth. These templates are so high quality that they include the metadata and security features needed to bypass digital scanners. Possessing these files is seen as clear intent to commit forgery and identity theft on a massive scale. It's the digital equivalent of owning a printing press for fake currency, and the law treats it exactly that way. Now let's dive into the more technical side of forbidden data. Scraped personal data for AI training. You might think scraping the web is harmless, but there are massive datasets out there that have been compiled by scraping private profiles, medical forums, and confidential records. These datasets are often used to train shady AI models for things like deepfake generation or predictive profiling. In many jurisdictions, especially under laws like the GDPR in Europe, possessing these massive, unauthorized datasets of personal information is highly illegal. If you have a drive with 10 terabytes of scraped personal data that includes private medical history or non-public photos, you are sitting on a legal landmine. Then there is the world of stolen cryptocurrency private keys. This is the modern version of a pirate's treasure map, but way more dangerous. Researchers and law enforcement have found drives that contain wallets.dat files or lists of seed phrases stolen through malware or phishing. Each one of those keys represents access to someone's digital fortune. Even if you haven't moved the money yet, just having those keys in your possession is considered the same as holding stolen property. Because of the transparent nature of the blockchain, many of these stolen assets are monitored. The moment those keys are used or even moved to a different drive, it can trigger an investigation. We also have to discuss the most extreme end of the spectrum, which is evidence of high-level crimes. Private investigators and tech support workers have accidentally stumbled upon drives that contain recordings of illegal acts, logs of dark web marketplaces, and communications between organized crime syndicates. These drives often become the smoking gun in massive legal cases. The problem for the average person who finds this is that the data itself can be dangerous to hold. If the people who lost that data realize you have it, you become a target. If the police find you have it and didn't report it, you might be seen as an accomplice. It's a lose-lose situation that highlights why people in the IT industry are often trained to be extremely careful when handling abandoned hardware. Let's talk about something that gets into the realm of information hazards. There are certain types of data that are restricted not because they are illegal in the traditional sense, but because they are physically dangerous to have on a network. This includes things like the source code for highly infectious and destructive computer viruses that are kept in digital quarantine by security firms. If that code leaks out, it can cause global chaos. Another example is detailed instructions for creating restricted chemical compounds or devices that are banned by international treaties. While you can find a lot of things on the internet, there are specific, highly detailed schematics that are blocked and monitored. Having a drive filled with these files is a massive red flag for counter-terrorism agencies. We should also look at the legalities of digital archaeology. Sometimes, what is on a drive is illegal simply because of how it was acquired. There are people who war drive or use specialized equipment to sniff data out of the air from unsecured networks, saving it all to massive storage arrays. This is essentially digital eavesdropping. Even if the data itself is boring, The act of collecting it without consent is a violation of various wiretapping and computer fraud laws. If you have a drive full of someone else's unencrypted network traffic, you are essentially holding a recording of their private life, and that is a major legal liability. One of the most overlooked areas of illegal data is restricted cultural heritage. This sounds academic, but it's very real. Some countries have strict laws about the digital scanning and distribution of their national treasures or sacred sites. Having a high-resolution 3D scan of a restricted archaeological site that was taken without government permission can actually get you in trouble with international heritage laws. It's a niche area, but it shows just how far the reach of illegal data can go. Now, let's get into the mechanics of how this data is hidden. Scammers and criminals don't just put a folder labeled illegal stuff on their desktop. They use steganography. This is the art of hiding data inside other data. For example, a criminal might have a hard drive full of thousands of innocent-looking vacation photos, but inside the noise of the pixels of those photos, they've hidden encrypted text or files using specialized software. To a casual observer, or even a basic forensic scan, the drive looks totally fine. But with the right key, those photos reveal a hidden partition of contraband. Law enforcement now uses advanced AI to scan for the telltale signs of steganography, such as unusual patterns in the file headers or inconsistent pixel data. Then there is the concept of a hidden volume, or a deniable encryption partition. Software like VeraCrypt allows a user to create a secondary, hidden encrypted volume inside an existing one. If an authority forces you to provide a password, you give them the password to the outer volume, which contains normal files. There is no mathematical way for them to prove that the inner volume even exists. However, in some countries, simply refusing to provide a password or being caught using deniable encryption can lead to contempt of court or specific obstruction charges, regardless of what is actually on the drive. Let's talk about the dead man's switch on hard drives. Some high-level whistleblowers or criminals set up their drives so that if they don't enter a password every 24 hours, the data is automatically sent to a preset list of recipients, or it triggers a script that overwrites the drive several times with random data. This makes the drive a ticking time bomb of information. If you find a drive like this and try to crack it, you might accidentally trigger the release of sensitive data that was never meant to see the light of day, or you might destroy the evidence before it can be recovered. Another interesting thing found on drives is bootleg software that controls industrial machinery. There is a massive underground market for cracked versions of the software used to run power plants, water treatment facilities, and manufacturing robots. This software usually costs hundreds of thousands of dollars and requires strict licensing. Having a cracked version on a drive isn't just about piracy, it's a massive security risk. If that software has a backdoor, an attacker could take control of the physical machinery. Because of this, the possession of industrial-grade wares is treated far more severely than a cracked version of a video game. We also have to mention the world of stolen digital signatures. Every major software company has a digital certificate that signs their software so your computer knows it's safe to run. If a scammer gets a drive with a stolen private key for one of these certificates, they can sign their own malware and make it look like it's an official update from Microsoft or Apple. These certificates are some of the most guarded secrets in the tech world. Finding one on a discarded drive is like finding the official seal of a monarch. It gives the holder a terrifying amount of power in the digital space. Let's look at the legal concept of constructive possession. In many places, you don't even have to know exactly what is on a drive to be held responsible for it. If you are the owner of the hardware and you haven't taken reasonable steps to ensure it doesn't contain illegal material, you can be held liable. This is why buying used hard drives and bulk lots of tech can be so risky. If you buy a box of 100 drives from a liquidation sale and one of them contains high-level government secrets, you are the one who has to explain it to the authorities. There is also the forensic ghost problem. When you delete a file, the operating system just marks the space as available, but doesn't actually erase the data. It stays there until it's overwritten by something else. Forensic tools can go back and piece these files together. People have been caught because they deleted illegal data, but then didn't actually use the computer enough to overwrite the sectors where that data lived. It's like crumpling up a piece of paper and throwing it in the trash. Anyone who picks it up can just smooth it back out and read it. To truly destroy data, you need to use a tool that writes zeros or random patterns over the entire drive multiple times. Or better yet, physically shred the platters. The world of hidden and illegal data is a constant cat-and-mouse game between those who want to hide information and those who are tasked with finding it. From the highest levels of government espionage to the shady underbelly of corporate theft, the hard drives we use every day are capable of holding secrets that can change lives or end careers. The next time you see a discarded laptop or an old external drive at a garage sale, remember that you aren't just looking at plastic and metal. You might be looking at a digital Pandora's box. One of the most important takeaways from this is the importance of data hygiene. If you are a tech-savvy person, you have a responsibility to know what's on your devices and how to properly dispose of them. Never just throw a drive in the trash. Even if you think there's nothing important on it, your browser history, your cached passwords, and your deleted emails are all still there, waiting for someone with a bit of technical knowledge to find them. And on the flip side, if you ever find something on a drive that looks like it shouldn't be there, don't be a hero. Don't try to investigate it yourself. The data on that drive could be more dangerous than any physical object. As we move toward an even more digitized future, with everything from our medical records to our DNA sequences being stored on servers and drives, the definition of what is illegal to possess will only continue to expand. The line between being a curious tech enthusiast and a digital criminal is getting thinner every day. Stay informed, stay cautious, and always remember that in the world of computers, nothing is ever truly forgotten. The bits always leave a trail, and sometimes, that trail leads to places you never wanted to go. Keep your data encrypted, your drives wiped, and your curiosity in check when it comes to the digital shadows. The information age is a double-edged sword, and it's up to us to make sure we stay on the right side of the blade. Digital forensics is now a standard part of almost every major investigation. Whether it's a white-collar crime or a case of international hacking, the hard drive is always the first place investigators look. They have specialized labs with clean rooms where they can take apart a damaged drive and read the platters directly using specialized lasers. They can recover data from drives that have been submerged in water or even partially melted. This level of technology means that if you have something illegal on a drive, there is almost no way to hide it from a determined, well-funded agency. The sheer volume of data we produce is also a challenge. With multi-terabyte drives becoming the standard, the amount of space where something can be hidden is massive. This has led to the development of automated forensic AI that can scan through millions of files in seconds, looking for specific signatures, keywords, or patterns that indicate the presence of contraband. The perfect crime in the digital world is becoming harder and harder to achieve because the tools for detection are evolving just as fast as the tools for deception. In the end, the most illegal things found on hard drives aren't just files. They are the evidence of human ambition, greed, and the desire for power. A hard drive is just a mirror of its owner. It records our interests, our secrets, and our mistakes. And in the wrong hands, that mirror can become a weapon. So be careful what you save, be careful what you delete, and definitely be careful what you find in the discarded corners of the digital world. You never know when a simple piece of hardware might be holding the most dangerous information on the planet. As we wrap this up, think about your own digital footprint. Every USB stick, every old phone in a drawer, every cloud storage account. They are all archives of who you are and what you've done. In a world where data is the new gold, it's also the new contraband. Protect your privacy. Respect the laws of the digital space, and always be aware that once something is written to disk, it has a life of its own. Stay sharp and stay safe in the vast, sometimes dark, expanse of the digital world.